Hi and welcome to Tactics. With Ruben Amorim coming into Manchester United in the very near future as the head coach, we're going to take a look at his 3-4-3 ideal formation and how he used the 3-4-3 system at Sporting. So we're going to start with the forward players, the 11, 9 and 7, and the roles and responsibilities when out of possession. When the goalkeeper has the ball, Sporting are looking to press high. The two wide forwards advance onto the outside of the centre-backs, while the 9 drops onto the single pivot. If the ball returns back to the goalkeeper, the 9 releases, presses the goalkeeper while trying to shadow mark the pivot. In deeper positions, the two wide forwards will drop into a narrow midfield 4. While the number 9 releases himself, he no longer marks the pivot and he picks up a position higher up the pitch to link counter-attacks with hold-up play or running the channels. Here we have some visuals on that. So we have the left forward, centre forward and the right forward. You can see the centre forward has dropped onto the single pivot. And when the ball goes back to the goalkeeper, the centre forward releases, presses the goalkeeper while shadow marking the single pivot. The left forward and the right forward retreat slightly. The forwards will try and lock down the centre-backs on one side of the pitch and the opposite side forward will tuck in and come narrow. And this is in deeper positions. You can see the right forward and left forward in a narrow midfield 4. Same again, they're in a narrow midfield 4. We have the centre forward who stays a little bit higher and tries to link for the counter-attack. If they are playing against a back 3, there's slight changes. Centre forward now will mark the central centre back rather than the pivot. He will still press the goalkeeper and again attempt to shadow mark the central centre back. As we take a look at the midfielders and how they work with the out of possession in the 3-4-3 under Ruben Amorim, it's clear to see that they've been coached to be aggressive with their press and back up the front 3 with their press. As there's only 2 centre midfielders, they're quite often outnumbered, and they can gain support by the number 9 dropping onto the pivot as we've shown in the first slides. But more often than not, the 2 midfielders will go on the front foot and mark the 2 opponents closest to the opponent's goal. With this, they expect one of the centre-backs to push on and step out of the defensive line to take the spare player. Here are some examples of that. So we can see the 2 centre midfielders highlighted here, and just behind them is the overloaded midfielder. The 2 centre midfielders once again, and the centre back has stepped onto that midfielder who was overloading them in the centre of the pitch. In this instance, 2 centre midfielders will push on to the nearest 2 centre midfielders to the opponent's goal. There's 1 player behind. And for any direct balls, the 2 midfielders are very quick to recover and pick up any seconds. The wing-backs role in Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 formation are physically demanding, as the players provide width when going forward and are expected to get back into fullback positions when defending. Within the high press, we take a look at their roles and responsibilities. With a central build-up, they will go back into a back 5, but as the ball moves to one side of the pitch, the ball side wing-back will jump onto the press and the non-ball side wing-back will come round into a back 4. As the ball moves, the same will happen on the other side of the pitch. The 3 will jump, the two will swing round into a back four. Within central build-up, the wing-backs will drop into a back five and sacrifice the space on either side of the pitch. If one centre-back does jump, the wing-back will become narrow. And that is the same on the other side of the pitch. If a centre-back jumps into midfield, the wing-back comes narrow. As the opposition build in central areas, we can see here the left wing-back and the right wing-back as part of the back five. But as the ball starts to move to one side of the pitch, we can track the right wing-back who is going to jump. And the left wing-back will come round to create a back four. The three centre-backs will dictate the high line. The wing-backs will have to stay in line with them. There is a little bit of exploitation here with the diagonal ball, so the wing-backs do need to be strong in 1v1 duels. And also to cover their centre-backs, so when the centre-backs are stepping out, the wing-backs are expected to come narrow and fill in the space that may be behind the centre-back who has left the defensive line. If the opposition play a back three with wing-backs, it's simple for the Sporting team. They go man for man. So they'll go directly against the opponent who's playing wing-back for the opposition. Finally, we're going to take a look at the role of the three centre-backs within the Ruben Amorim system. It's rare that he doesn't play three at the back, and with this he's asking the three centre-backs to be aggressive in all phases of the game. As his team only has two centre midfielders, it's vital that one of the centre-back steps out to avoid the midfielders being outnumbered. It's generally the outside centre-backs who do this. The outside centre-backs are also asked to defend wide areas. Because the wing-backs will jump, the centre-backs come across to create a back four, and it's up to them to perform in the 1v1 duels with wide players. These strategies also require the central centre-back to cover large spaces, and Amorim's selection will usually include a pacey player within the central position who is good with 1v1 duels. And as has already been covered with the wing-backs, it's important that they keep a high line. They're trying to restrict the space between the midfield and defence, so the back three can step onto any midfielders that are advanced of the midfield line. This is an example of the right centre-back stepping out and being aggressive. You can see the right wing back just tucking in a little bit narrow to cover the space. And this is where wide centre-backs are expected to defend wide areas. You can see the back three in place there, the wing backs are slightly advanced. With the centre-back and wing-back stepping out, the central centre-back does have to defend large spaces.